All right, let's get right into one of the most chilling, unsolved mysteries out there. I want you to picture this. We're in a remote, totally desolate mountain pass, deep in Russia's Ural Mountains. It's 1959. The cold is just brutal. And something is about to happen, something that becomes this deep, dark mystery that people are still trying to solve today.
You know, this isn't your typical story of a hiking trip that just went bad. No, this is about something so bizarre, so completely unexplainable, that even all these years later, it just flies in the face of all logic. The government actually classified the files for decades. It's like the real story is still out there, just buried under all that snow.
Okay, so first up, the Experienced Nine. And to really get why this whole thing is so strange, you've got to know who we're talking about. These were not your average weekend campers, not by a long shot.
So the group was led by this guy, Igor Dyatlov. And everyone in the group was a top-tier, highly skilled hiker and skier. I mean, they had real experience in brutal winter conditions. The route they chose, it was one of the toughest you could possibly attempt. So let me be clear, these were not amateurs. They were the kind of people you'd think would be the absolute last to make some rookie mistake, right?
Everything up to this point was going according to plan. You know, they kept journals, they took photos, it all seemed perfectly normal. But then, on this one night, February 1st, they made a choice, a really critical choice that, to this day, nobody can quite figure out.
See, instead of doing the smart thing, setting up camp down in the forest where the trees would give them some protection, they pitched their tent on this totally open, exposed mountain slope. It makes no sense. It left them completely vulnerable. Why? I mean, was it some kind of mistake? Were they lost? We honestly have no idea, but whatever the reason, that one decision put them right in the crosshairs of, well, whatever came next.
All right, section 2, panic on the mountain. And this is where things take a very, very dark turn. So just try to imagine this for a second. The wind is just screaming outside. You can't see anything, and the temperature plummets to -30°C. That's cold enough to kill you in minutes. And they're all huddled inside their one and only shelter, trying to get some sleep. And then, in that total, freezing darkness, something went wrong. Something triggered a full-blown panic. And I'm not talking about just being startled. This was raw, absolute terror. And it happened in an instant. There was zero hesitation. Whatever this was, it made them completely abandon all their training, all their survival instincts, and just run. And here it is. This is maybe the most terrifying detail of all. When investigators found the tent, it was cut open from the inside. Think about that. They didn't bother with the zipper. In their only refuge from that deadly cold, they grabbed a knife and sliced their way out. Whatever they were facing inside that tent seemed worse than the certain death of the frozen wilderness outside. What could possibly be worse than that? They just ran, barefoot. Some of them were only in their underwear. They left behind all their gear, their boots, their coats, their food, everything you'd need to survive. They literally chose to run out into a frozen nightmare over staying put. Okay, but here's where it gets even weirder. This is the central contradiction of the whole case. On one hand, you have undeniable evidence of pure panic, right? They sliced the tents open, they ran out with no gear. But on the other hand, the footprints they left behind were calm, they were orderly, they were walking, not sprinting away in terror. It's like terror and calm existing in the exact same moment. How is that even possible? It makes absolutely no sense. Okay, next section, the unexplained injuries. Because as horrifying as all that is, what the search parties found weeks later, well, it took this mystery to a whole new level of disturbing. So at first, when they found the first 2 bodies under this big cedar tree, it kind of looked like what you might expect. They had died from hypothermia, frozen solid. It looked like they were trying to start a fire. But get this, the branches way up high on that tree were broken. It was like someone had scrambled up there. Maybe to get a better view of something, or maybe to get away from something on the ground. But it was the last 4 bodies, found weeks later buried deep in the snow. They're the ones that just blew this case wide open. The injuries they had, there's just no way to explain them. It wasn't the cold, it wasn't an animal, it was something else entirely. Listen to this. Doctors said their injuries were like what you'd see from a major car crash. They had crushed ribs, a fractured skull, just massive internal damage. But here's the kicker.
There were no external wounds, no bruises, no cuts, nothing on the skin. It was like they were crushed by some immense, invisible force. And then there's Ludmila Dubina. She was found missing her tongue and some of the soft tissue from her face. Oh, and one more thing, some of their clothes had traces of radiation on them. It just keeps getting stranger and stranger. So now, we get to the final section, a compelling unknown force. Because with all this weird, contradictory evidence, what in the world could have happened out there? Every theory you come up with just seems to fall apart.
Okay, so the most popular natural theory is a slab avalanche. Basically, a sheet of snow breaking loose and sliding down. Maybe it scared them out of the tent. But that theory has big problems. For one, the slope they were on just wasn't steep enough for that. Plus, an avalanche would have crushed the tent and totally wiped out those calm, orderly footprints. So yeah, that one doesn't really hold up.
All right, what about a secret military weapons test? You know, this one kind of makes sense at first. There were some scattered reports of weird lights in the sky that night, and a concussive blast could definitely explain the radiation and those crazy internal injuries. But it still doesn't explain the footprints. Why would you calmly walk away from an explosion? And of course, there are zero official records of any tests happening, so another dead end.
So in the end, the official investigation was just closed. And the cause of death they landed on? This might be the most haunting part of the whole thing. They said the hikers died from a compelling natural force.
What does that even mean, right? It's a phrase that says everything and nothing at the same time. It's basically the government admitting we have no earthly idea what happened. All they knew was that some kind of force, something powerful enough to make these 9 experts flee to their deaths, was at play. But they couldn't or wouldn't name it. So they just sealed the files and let the mystery hang there. And that's really where we're left, just this pile of facts that shouldn't exist together. You have a frantic escape, followed by a calm walk. You have car crash level injuries with no bruises, and this bizarre official conclusion. But it all circles back to that one single moment. That moment when 9 highly trained experts decided that freezing to death outside was better than whatever was inside that tent. So the question that will always haunt this story is, what were they so afraid of?